Hello again. Welcome to our Autism Exploration series. I'm Emily, the Clinical Director of Field Services here at Verbal Beginnings. Verbal Beginnings' mission is to change lives for our clients, our families, and our professionals here. We do that through our pledge of care, which is our promise to you, to provide effective treatment through compassionate care. We also strive to achieve our mission through our core values. One of our core values is education, which is teaching families like you valuable ways to work with your child. And that's actually why we decided to start these series. We also have a couple of seals that we're very proud of. One of them that you'll see on the screen here is the Behavioral Health Center of Excellence. This seal represents the hard work and focus that we place to ensure that VB is providing quality care through the highest standards. And we continue to receive this accreditation and strive to do better each time. All right, you can move to the next slide for me, Justine. Thank you. I wanted to take this as an opportunity to introduce you to the services that we offer here at Verbal Beginnings. In addition to our in-home and center-based ABA services, we also offer diagnostic services, feeding therapy, and social skills programming. Additionally, I'll go through a couple of housekeeping things. We do encourage you as our participants to participate with us today through today's presentation. Please feel free to unmute yourselves to ask questions or use the chat feature found at the bottom of your screen. We also offer closed captioning during this recording, which you can access by navigating to the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can click on More, then Captions, and then Show Captions. So you should be able to then see the words pop up at the bottom of your screen there. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our wonderful presenter tonight, Justine Beachley. She is one of our Social Beginnings manager here at Verbal Beginnings, and I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is summertime and different camps and programs that we can discuss. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I am a board certified behavior analyst. I hold a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a master's degree in applied behavior analysis. I previously was a certified teacher in elementary education, early child education, and special education in the state of Maryland. For Verbal Beginnings, I was previously a clinical supervisor in the field and in Social Beginnings, and I'm currently now the Social Beginnings manager. I also have a very cute dog, as you can see, who just loves to be the center of attention. Okay, so let's go over today's objectives. We would want to understand the benefits of enrolling your child in the summer program or in a summer program. We want to understand the difference between a summer program and a summer camp. We also want to dig deeper into understanding the risk of regression during the summer months, as well as explore the purpose of different summer programs and summer camps. Okay, so before we get started, I just kind of want to get to know you guys a little bit better. And Emily will be popping up a poll, as you can see. How old is your child? I will give you about 30-45 seconds to answer.
Still waiting on some people to fill out the survey here. So if you just joined us, please feel free to hit the multiple choice to let us know how old your children or child is that you're thinking about a summer camp or program for. And Justine, you can see it's letting you pick a question or an answer to that question as well, right?
Yes. Let me try to hit submit.
Just want to make sure. I haven't seen any responses pull in just yet.
It's letting people write.
Yes, it is. Let me end the poll here. Maybe we'll try the second question.
Okay. If anyone wants to chime in, feel free, or in the chat, you can turn off your mute or put it in the chat how old your children are. Okay. And then our second question is, where do you reside right now? Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Virginia, DC, or another place?
I see that we have somebody wrote in the chat box that they have a 4-year-old and that they reside in the Maryland area. Anybody else,
Awesome.
feel free to type in the chat box if for some reason the poll isn't popping up on your end. Looks like we have a 4-year-old in Howard County, Maryland. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to end that poll just because for some reason it's not popping up or allowing people to add in any of their choices here. So if you're willing to, adding it into the chat box is probably the easiest way for us to get to know you. Looks like we have a 9-year-old in Maryland, 7-year-old in Maryland, and a 4-year-old in Maryland. Awesome. Looks like a lot
Lots
of
of Marylanders.
Yeah, and a 6-year-old. Lots of great ages as well. Thank you all so much for sharing.
I always like to see the variety of ages too, because we here at Verbal Beginnings work with a very big variety of ages.
Okay. We got some 6, 3, and 6-year-olds all in Maryland. Thank you all so much for sharing. I think you can probably go to the next.
Okay, we're going to try the poll again, but if it doesn't work again, just feel free to put in the chat or you can come off mute. We just want to know a little bit about your plans for the summer. Is your child currently enrolled in a summer camp or a program? You can just put yes or no, or try to do the poll.
I'm going to try it a different way. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Don't know why it's doing this to us. But if you want to put it into the chat box, you are more than welcome. Let's see here. We have some not yets. We have no's. Doesn't look like there has been some decisions. It's still pretty early on too, so that might be why.
And this is usually the time that I find that parents are trying to figure out what their plans are for their child in the summer. So this is a great presentation for you to attend, especially at this time. Okay. All right, and I'm going to move on to the next question. Emily, are we good to move on to the next question?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. All right, and what would you want the summer program or camp to focus on? This could be academic, social skills, maintaining skills that they learned in school, sports, or you're not sure.
It looks like we have some people typing into the chat box. It looks like looking for a place that is familiar with working with children on the spectrum, looking for social skills, social and verbal communication, functional language skills, social interactions, and I believe someone in here mentioned too, just being registered with VB, having access to some of those services as well.
Awesome. Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Okay. Okay, so what are the benefits of your child attending a summer program? Because there's lots. The first part I want to dig in deeper is it supports the prevention of a regression. We really want our children to continue working on those skills. As a previous teacher, during the summer months, I would get, I guess towards the time we were kind of getting ready for the new school year, I would get a children's file. They would talk about what they could do. And then when they come through, I did see a lot of the times that kids did attempt to have a regression. So we want to make sure that we are preventing that. We want to make sure we have lots of structured learning opportunities and that kids will have access to a schedule and a very predictable day. We want them to make sure they can develop new skills. These can be academic skills. This can be social skills, developmental skills, as well as language skills too. we want to also make sure that they're strengthening previously learned skills. If there is a certain skill area that they're showing a lot of deficits in, the summer months is a good opportunity to help strengthen those skills. We also want to think about strengthening independence. I always try to tell my parents is what can they learn or skills they can build that can benefit them in 10 years from now? Where do you want your child 10 years from now? And what do you want to have? What do you want them to learn? It's a kind of a big question because we might think of our kids at a young age that they're 3 years old and they, obviously can't drive a car or maintain very complicated conversations, but where do we want them to be and how are we going to get there? And the next one is we want children are engaged and focused during the summer months. We are now kind of like in an era where there's lots of technology and they're not so engaged in learning stuff or playing or outside. And this isn't the 90s anymore, I tell people, where people are riding bikes, kids are more kind of stuck inside with technology. And then next one is developing friendships and strengthening social skills. I was just talking to Emily about this, is that developing friendships, I actually have a friend that I think I met when I was 11, actually at a summer camp, and we are still best friends today. So that's, a very good opportunity to create friendships. And I always think that the summer months, it's such a huge opportunity for you guys to, when the kids aren't in school, to really strengthen or really use that time to their benefit and think about what they can get out of those summer months rather than just kind of hanging out at home and playing with the iPad or the computer, and really learn to take advantage of those summer months. Okay. I want to dig deeper into exactly what a regression is. The technical term is it's a return to a former or less developed state. I kind of want to dig deeper into that. That's kind of a very bland definition. So the different types of regression that I typically see is the first one is academic, which could be decreasing a reading level or a math level or any other academic level during the summer months. Another one is a behavior. This could increase in tantrums, which is decreasing in a replacement behavior that they learned before in the months without, something just popped up. Can you guys still see?
I think you just have to reshare it.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened. I'm so sorry. Technology is not our friend today. Okay. All right, can you guys see it again?
Not yet.
I'm not sure what's going on. How about now?
No, it's not letting you. You would have to click back into the Zoom screen and click on share screen. Maybe that's what's wrong.
That's exactly what's wrong.
There we
How
go.
about now?
There we go.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So the next one is the physical regression. So this could be a decrease in fine motor skills, such as cutting or handwriting. And the next one is developmental regression, which is decrease in language, such as requesting for items or engaging in back and forth conversation. That's also kind of a social skill. A really fun fact that one of my professors told me in college is that you need to repeat something 60 times in order for it to stick into a long-term memory. So in 2 months, your short-term memory may not just be enough. And we want to talk about like who's at risk for regression. Typically, children who are more sensitive to transitions or changes, going from school to summer is a total change in their schedule, and that can typically cause a regression. And also children with developmental or learning disabilities. That does not say that other children are not at risk at a regression. It's pretty much anyone who is actively using skills at risk or not actively using skills or at risk. A good example that I always like to give is I took 5 years of Spanish, like back to back, and I could maybe tell you 3 words at this point of in Spanish, and all of that learning that I did in Spanish just did not stick at all. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so what type of summer programs have you enrolled your child in the past? So this is going to be something we can try to share again with a poll. If the poll does not work, feel free to come off your mic, or you can submit your answers in the chat. So the different types of camps that we kind of provided here, again, there's so many camps out there, but day camps, sport camps, the extended school year, academic programs, special interest camps, programs for your children with developmental disabilities, and other, or you haven't enrolled your child in a summer program or camp before.
So I have a question. I'm a little bit confused.
Sure.
I've got a 3-year-old that attends the Verbal Beginnings Columbia location, and he's been going there for about 6 or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm confused. I mean, his services there are year-round, right? So as far as the children that you're referring to right now, these are going to be kids that don't attend Verbal Beginnings and maybe go to a public school?
Or more of a school age, and usually typically are during, like, have a break during the summer months. So that's a blessing, like during Verbal Beginnings, is that is a year-round program. But these are typical for kids who have a break in like services or in school during the summer months. I hope that answers your
Gotcha.
question. Yeah.
It does. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It looks like we're getting some answers in the chat box. Looks like we have a Lego building STEM camp. That sounds really cool.
Fun.
Extended school year was also mentioned in there.
I want to look up this Lego building camp. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm like, can I give them like another minute?
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to type into the chat box or unmute themselves to talk about any types of summer programs that you've enrolled in the past. So some examples are there on the screen there. And unfortunately, the poll questions are not working. So if you can put it in the chat box, that would be great. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Okay, I'll give you guys like 15 more seconds.
Looks like we have day camp was written in here. Verbal Beginnings 2022 summer program was put in there, and programs for children with developmental disabilities. So it sounds like there's been a nice variety of camps that people have accessed in the past. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Okay. All right. So we're going to go over like the different types of summer programs and camps. And then we'll dig deeper in the difference between the camps and the programs. So some of the different types of camps would be a sports camp. So it could be, I've attended when I was younger, a camp that was all different sports. And then I've attended a camp that would just focus on one sport. We have theme camps. So like if it's like under the sea, I guess gymnastics would be a sport. Not very good at thinking about theme camps right now, but when there's theme type of camps, also scouting camps, and then overnight camps. Again, these are just very few that we could think of. There's obviously many, many camps out there. The next is extended for programs. We have extended school year. This is usually typically children who have IEPs. But it should be noted that not every child with an IEP does qualify for extended school year. There's STEM programs, which it sounds like that Lego program was a STEM program, if I'm correct. And then the special interest programs, and then programs with children with developmental disabilities. I have more experience with our Social Beginnings program, which is typically a program for children who show deficits in social skills such as sharing, self-regulation, conversational skills, sportsmanship, and teamwork. It's for children ages 3 to 17 years old, and we try to group the kids based on their age and skill level and really focus on those social opportunities to increase their deficits. Okay. So we kind of want to dig a little bit deeper about the difference between summer camps and programs. Not saying that one is better than the other. We are just kind of trying to dig deeper into what the difference is and what might fit best for your child. So a camp is typically like theme oriented, like an adventure camp, as I said, like under the sea or marine biology camp. And they also support the development of friendships. The camps can be structured or unstructured depending on the type of the camp. And it can be kind of specific to the child's unique interest. A program, on the other hand, is typically more goal-oriented. There's a certain goal that you're trying to work towards, kind of more of a curriculum-based. It does support the development of friendships like a camp. I really want to dig deeper into this one, because if your child is having difficulty developing friendships at school, they may have the same difficulty developing friendships at camps if they don't have proper staff that are trained to teach children how to create friendships. So I do want to note that, because yes, they both offer that they could develop friendships. But if you're looking for your child to develop those friendships because they're kind of lacking that social deficit, you might want to think about a program that people are trained to increase those social opportunities and teach those skills for them to create and maintain friendships in a social setting. The next is supporting development of age-appropriate skills. Some programs may be covered by insurance, not all, but if your child has a disability, it may be covered by insurance. I would really, can't think of the word, I'm so sorry. I really would hope that you guys would look into that if your child has a disability, to look into if insurance would be able to cover it. There's a variety of skill building opportunities, such as turn taking, playing skills, engaging in self-calming strategies, maintaining conversations. There's also lots of structured learning opportunities, which we discussed earlier. That structure is really important for children with disabilities, and it supports the prevention of a regression. I kind of would dig deeper about why structure is so important. And it's just when kids, their days are a little bit unpredictable, they tend to engage in a lot more behaviors because they are trying to control and cope with it. So that's why structure is so important for children during the summer months, and that their day is a little bit more predictable. Okay, so we're going to discuss again. What is your goal for your child during the summer month? And this is a really great time. We would really want to hope that you guys can come off mute and discuss what you want for your child. And if you're not comfortable with that, feel free to enter in the chat. But we'll go with the first question is, what is your goal for your child during the summer months?
Hi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi.
No, you can. Oh, okay. Hi. So my goal, my son is 7, and he does have a little difficulty like engaging in conversation and making friends at school. So that is my goal, that he increases those social skills and that he maybe overcomes some type of social anxiety that he may experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
at times. So,
Yeah, and kind of help build those friendships that he would want. And then, as I kind of talk about, like, think about him 10 years from now, like what he needs, what social skills he needs 10 years from now, and what can we do to get him there. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem. Thank you.
We had somebody in the chat box also mention that they are looking for activities, learning, socialization, and overall growth as well.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right. And some examples that I kind of came up with that could be possible examples for goals for your child during the summer could be, as we said before, building friendships or exploring a special interest or increasing their overall developmental milestones. Okay. All right. I'm going to dig deep.
Just additional. Oh, no, that's okay. I just wanted to let you know one additional person also mentioned improving social skills, which is a great example, as well as communication skills.
All right. And the next question is, what areas would you want to strengthen during the summer? So maybe skills that they already have, but you really would want to strengthen them during those summer months. This could be academic or social or developmental. And feel free to come off mute or put in the chat if you're not comfortable.
It looks like a couple of people mentioned communication skills being a large focus of what they would like to strengthen during the summertime, as well as reciprocal conversation with peers.
Thank you for sharing.
I'll let you know if any more come through.
I'm gonna give it like 30 more seconds.
I haven't seen any others come through. Oh, just
Okay.
kidding. Conversation skills.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing. And then lastly, I want to focus on is what will be a positive experience for your child. You don't want your child waking up every day and dreading going to their summer program or summer camp. With our social beginnings program, right now we have an after school program, and it really made my day when one mom told me that every day he comes home from school and says, I can't wait to go to social skills, and they get excited for it. They can't wait to see their friends. So that's something that you really want to focus on, is what's going to be that positive experience for your child, and what are they going to, really be motivated by, and it will be reinforcing. Okay. All right. So here we have just some resources to help you kind of find the right camp for your child. So each of these, you can kind of dig deeper into them. I kind of looked them up myself. What was really nice about them is that it's not just for one specific area. Typically, you can put in your zip code, and then some of these you can even put exactly what you would want to focus on, and this can help you kind of find that right camp or program for your child. We all know about the YMCA. They usually typically have day camps, and then the county recreation websites. Each state county should have a county recreation website, which will provide local summer camp and program resources for you. And then our website, verbalbeginnings.com, if you're interested in learning about our social skills summer program, which typically is 7 weeks long. Please feel free to go on our website and look into our program. It's an amazing program. I've been with social skills for about 2 years now. I've done this for 2 summers and seen incredible growth from our social skills program. So feel free to dig deeper in that or ask me any questions towards the end. I'm happy to answer.
I saw that somebody did raise their hand. So
Yes.
if you are comfortable, you feel free to come off mute.
Yeah, I'm fine to come off mute. Hi. So I am in the process of having my son evaluated at Verbal Beginnings and go through the process, but we are looking for a summer program because we know he's on the spectrum, but we don't have an official diagnosis. That being said, does Verbal Beginnings have, since this is a webinar provided by Verbal Beginnings, you guys have any openings, or are you getting ready to go over the types of tracks that you have for summer programs, or would he have to have an official diagnosis for us to use Verbal Beginnings?
So typically we do have to have an official diagnosis for them to attend the summer program. And then once we have that diagnosis, we can go to our intake process. And Emily, correct me if I'm misspeaking.
Nope, you're right. So typically, in order to enroll within Verbal Beginning Services, they are funded by insurance. So an autism diagnosis is required. Verbal Beginnings, it sounds like you already know this at this point, but Verbal Beginnings does offer the diagnostic services. If that's something that you're interested in, once that diagnosis has been confirmed, in the meantime, you can also reach out to our intake team, giving our main number a phone, just giving our main phone number a call, and they'll be able to direct you in terms of what paperwork you would need to submit. And for our summer program specifically, they're in the throes of going through and finding the locations and filling seats and identifying kiddos for that program as well.
Does anybody have any other questions about the resources? Feel free to write them down if you need a couple more seconds or to write them down.
Yeah, just one more follow-up question. Thank you for that information. But we are in the intake process. Our appointment has been moved 3 times. So the 3rd time's a charm, they say. So we are expected to meet on April 13th for our first meeting. And then there's 2 other meetings after where they do the 3-hour evaluation. And then we get the results. And so with that, since that's in April, do you think the time frame for that would fit me in, just a guesstimate, to be able to do the summer program with Verbal Beginnings?
I can jump in on this one.
Yeah.
I think what would be helpful is to let the intake team know, since you're already in communication with them, that the summer program is of interest to you. And if they already know the date of which you're planning to go through the evaluation process, typically through the evaluation process and the confirmed diagnosis within that time frame, as long as that's completed within the months of April, May, early June, I would think that that should be enough time. But I'm going to defer to Justine, and likely at the time of when all of that is happening, they can kind of give you some more live updates through that as well, through the intake team.
Yeah, I would definitely, since you're in contact with the intake team, let them know your interests, and that usually kind of tags me and the director, who is Courtney Stewart, and we will they'll go on our list that you're interested, and hopefully by the time that you get that diagnosis, we would be in an assessment process.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I do want to note that for our social beginnings camp, we do also go through a screening. I don't know, Emily, I don't know the answer to this question, so chime in. Do we need a formal diagnosis to conduct the screening?
For the screening, no, not necessarily, but in terms of the time, for it to be time well spent, a confirmed diagnosis is encouraged. That way it's, just, in the off chance for some reason that diagnosis doesn't come in on time, or maybe doesn't receive the diagnosis that you were thinking, it's not, it's a good use of time to kind of already have that.
Okay. All right.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I hear you referring to the camp as a social. What did you say? A social?
The social
camp?
skills. Yes,
social
skills.
Skills
It's
program.
a
So is that the
program.
only summer program that Verbal Beginnings offer? Is the social skills program?
From my knowledge, yes. Emily, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm on the social beginning side, so I, from what I know, yes. But as another parent has chimed in, that our in-home and our center is typically year-round.
Okay, so the main focus of the social program for the summer is to enhance those social skills.
Yes, and we do have an after-school program that is our social skills program, but the summer one is more of like it's a longer day, and it's 7 weeks long. So it's typically, right now it's from 8:30 to 3:30.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm going to just jump in here really quick because a couple of questions are coming in the chat box, and I just wanted to read them out and provide some answers. So one of the questions is, where is the program located? Justine, do you have information for that?
Right. So typically we have like a Howard County, Anne Arundel County, and Montgomery County. I think last year we had a Hartford County as well. We don't have anything set in stone right now. We are currently finalizing contracts with our locations, but typically it's in those counties.
And then a question came up about transportation. Transportation is provided from caregivers and parents.
Yes.
Verbal Beginnings does not provide transportation for the summer program. There was a question about a Northern Virginia location. I'm not sure if we have an answer for that one, Justine.
I know we had one last year during the summer months. I don't have a finalized location right now. Again, our team is still kind of looking for those locations and making contracts. So we don't have anything finalized, but last year we did have a Northern Virginia location. And
I would imagine once all these locations are fully finalized, that there will be communications that are sent out. Great.
Yes.
A question came through that if a child is receiving ABA therapy from Verbal Beginnings during the week are accepted for the summer program, would they continue the weekly ABA therapy as well as time in the summer program, or is that dependent on insurance?
Would depend on the time of the therapy. So if it's typically like if it's after school, that wouldn't really affect it too much. I've had clients before that went to the summer camp and then had their in-home ABA therapy, which is their one-to-one therapy at night. So I think if it is during the day, I would contact your clinical supervisor to see, what you can do on that end. But typically we are from 8:30 to 3:30. So if it's during that time, that could affect their attendance.
I think what's also important to note there too, Justine, in addition to what you said, is really it depends on what's truly recommended as well. So if your child is recommended by the clinical supervisor assigned to you that they would benefit, that your kiddo would benefit from both the social skills program as well as receiving in-home therapy at the same time, you can talk with your clinical supervisor about that, and they should be able to help kind of guide that conversation, guide talking about what a schedule could look like. So hopefully they can help answer most of those questions for you. A question sort of in the same vein is, if we already have services with VB, do we have to reapply for the summer program? I can field this one for you, Justine, if you want.
Sure.
So with this question, you would go through what we call sort of like a screening process. And what we mean by that is, if you're already with Verbal Beginnings, especially, you'll be working with your clinical supervisor to identify if your child would benefit from a program such as the Social Beginnings Summer Program. So my recommendation for families is always to let your clinical supervisor working with you know that it's something that you're interested in, and they can help guide that conversation for you and connect you with the right people. We have a couple more questions about locations in terms of Hartford and Baltimore County, but it seems like working on just kind of tying up loose ends, and communication will be going out regarding finalized locations. So just stay tuned with us, keep an eye out in your email and on our different social medias. We typically post some of that stuff on there as well. A question came in is there any feeding support in the Social Beginnings classroom?
Can you repeat that? You broke out for a little bit, Emily.
Oh, sorry. There was a question about if we offer feeding services within the Social Beginnings program.
We do not offer feeding services, but we do have Healthy Beginnings, which kind of focus more on the feeding services.
So let me clarify, because that was my question.
Okay.
Like I know about the Healthy Beginnings program, familiar with it, but I'm more asking because the kids are going to be in there the entire day, and they have to eat, what kind of supports are provided in terms of feeding in this program?
Because we're not a feeding program, we can't really go, obviously we're going to try to make sure that the kid eats, like, oh, well, first you need to eat and then you can play. We can do simple protocols like that. But if it was like really intense protocols, we would probably have to take them to Healthy Beginnings. Can you clarify, like, what level, and if you feel free, you don't have to answer, but what level is your child in terms of like eating? Is it just like
he's just a very picky eater, so we've looked at Healthy Beginnings and just haven't been able to make it work with our schedule yet. But he'll eat a number of things, but is just has a lot of preferred sweets and things like that, and needs to be. He's had a lot of success in other classrooms at school eating new foods if he's being introduced to them outside of our house, ironically. So I just didn't know what kind of supports just in, being among other kids were provided in that setting and what that would look like.
We would probably just use like typical behavior strategies, which is, oh, I really like how little like Johnny is eating his pizza. That's awesome job, like great job. And kind of using like what that's called like a pivotal praise. We probably would also use like, well, first we need to eat, taking, oh, why don't you take 2 bites? And then like, then we can do this, and just kind of using behavioral strategies. But if it's an intense program, we are not able to support that, but we would encourage and use motivational strategies that we know that within the program. And they usually the kids bring their own lunch and snacks. So you would have control over that. We are not able to offer any food just because of allergies.
There was also a question, is the copay per each day that they attend? And basically the answer to that will be dependent on your insurance. So when you go through the intake process with Verbal Beginnings, they will do a benefit check for you as you're going through that process, and they'll be able to outline for you if there's any deductible, any copay, or any co-insurance associated with the services that you would receive at Verbal Beginnings.
Do you all assist with potty training? I know we have a couple of 3- and 4-year-old parents on the phone, and that's a challenge with children that are nonverbal sometimes.
So we typically don't help with potty training, only because this is a phased support program. So usually what a classroom looks like, it has 2 ABA therapists, 1 BCBA, and 8 children. And if we're assisting with potty training, we are out of the classroom, which means that that's time taken away because it's like a group program. So typically we do not do potty training. We try to do scheduled like potty breaks for the children, but we don't assist with potty training.
And that would be exclusive just to the social beginnings program.
Yes.
If the child is younger, so you said a couple 3 to 5 year olds, we do have center-based services. So both center-based services and home-based services are able to support self-help skills such as potty training.
Thank you for that clarification. That's really helpful.
Sure. Yeah, I know it's a little confusing because we're going back and forth about camps
Yeah.
and summer programs and social beginnings. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. But yes, that is the clarification there. Anybody else have questions, want to put into the chat box or come off mute? Thank you all for bringing so many great questions.
We actually have a couple slides later for questions. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
jumping ahead here. Go right
that's
ahead.
okay. I was not stopping the questions. I loved it. So I was just letting them know that if you are thinking about a question, there is a slide, a couple slides later. Okay. All right. Sorry. Oops, I'm so sorry. I'm too fast there. All right. So just some takeaways that you can have for the just kind of to take away from the presentation. So skill regression may occur during unstructured time, such as during the summer months. If you're concerned about skill regression during summer break, I would consider seeking support and use resources such as summer camps and programs to prevent that regression. We also want to make sure that you guys are identifying your goals for a summer program or camp and look for a program that aligns with those goals for your child. And lastly, identify a summer camp or program that you believe will best support your child's needs and will allow them to have fun while learning, because we want this to be a positive experience for your children. Okay, all right, now we can open for questions.
Are parents able to observe the class?
So typically, because this is like a medical program, it would be kind of going against a HIPAA. But I do know that this was a common question that we had before. And if all parents in the classroom sign off that it's okay for you to come and observe, we can look into that and see if that could be an option.
There are no questions in the chat box just yet. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in or come off mute. And then Justine, if you want to just bump to the next slide while everybody's kind of thinking about their questions. I did just want to say for next month's Autism Exploration series, please stay tuned. We have some really great stuff coming this year, and we'll be sending out emails about our topic for next month, but we do have the date and the time solidified. So if you are interested in continuing with our Autism Explorations series here, it'll be on March 7th at 5 p.m. And again, stay tuned for what that will be on. And I have a couple of questions that came through while I was talking about that. We have, when will notifications go out if a child was selected for the summer program?
So right now we are going through some screenings right now. If you are in the screening process, we will reach out to you when we're doing a group screening. If you're in the assessment process or waiting on an assessment, me or the director will contact you when we're ready to assess your child. And if you are not in any of this process and you're just interested in this program, I would contact the intake team and they will contact us to start the screening. And then if they are deemed appropriate for the program, we would start that assessment.
I had a question about how will meltdowns be handled should they occur? And
Repeat that, Emily. I'm sorry.
How will meltdowns be handled should they occur? And I would imagine that you'd want to answer this question specifically to social beginnings, because center-based services and in-home services would they would kind of go about that much differently than social skills.
So I see lots of meltdowns. That happens. They're kids, especially. If they have a disability. So typically with meltdowns, the behavior analyst would be the person who would make the call on what to do. The behavior analyst would take, the ABA therapist would take the data on it, whether if it's, what happened before, what was the behavior, what happened after, and they would come up with a very detailed protocol as what to do to make sure that they are effectively communicating and that we're replacing that meltdown with communication. Sometimes if they are too tired, they are done with learning. If they just simply need a break, we would want to teach them to take a break. It would all depend on the situation that caused the meltdown.
And the last question I have here is, do you use the Hi Mama app like the center program does?
We do use the Hi Mama app.
Cool. I haven't seen any other questions come through yet, but
I have a question.
oh, go right ahead.
I have two questions. So how many children are typically in the, like, are they broken down into like smaller classes?
Yes. So typically we've tried to break them down based on their age and their level or skill level. So we have like an early beginners classroom, we have an elementary classroom, a tween classroom, and a teen classroom. This could depend on the location too. Some locations have all four, some locations may only have a couple depending on our groups, but we will group them based on their age and skill level. There's a maximum of 8 kids per classroom and no more, and they will have 2 therapists and 1 BCBA looking over the classroom.
Oh, okay. And I did sign up to show interest, and someone did contact me. So what part of the process does that leave me? Like, am I in the intake process or?
So you said someone contacted you?
Someone did.
Okay. And are you already with Verbal Beginnings right now?
Not currently. He used to be.
Okay. So if you're in the intake process, it sounds like, do you remember the person's name? I'm just curious if it was me. That's why. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So typically if you're in the intake process, we have like a list of kids that are needing to be screened. So we are going to hold group screenings probably towards the beginning of March, which will be me and the director as well, Courtney Stewart, and we'll hold group screenings, which we would deem them if they're appropriate or not. And if they were, then we would start an assessment and figure out what location we would want to place them in based on your location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I need to do anything else or just?
If you reach out to Verbal Beginning or to our intake team, if he or she, I'm so sorry, might be on our list or should be on our list, and we will just contact you. We just have a very lengthy list right now because everybody's interested. So I apologize for the wait.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I had a question. Is the group screening in person?
The group screening is in person. We typically do what's called a soft screening, which is over the phone, just to kind of just see, get a little bit more detail about your child. And then we would put them in a group screening, which we call our hard screening, with just like do a mock day or what social beginnings would look like. And then we would contact you if they were deemed appropriate.
And I'm just going to clarify for the screening process or the purpose of the screening process, and Justine alluded to this, the idea behind going through the different screening processes is to truly identify if this is a program that would be beneficial for your child, and that the social skills program would be the best place for them to start learning some of those fundamental social skills. So just wanted to add that clarification too. And that screening process is exclusive to the social beginnings program. It does look a bit different for center and in-home services, as that is not typically their process.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
Nope, you can go, don't worry.
And then a question here came through. Is it too late to request a screening for the summer program?
Nope, I would contact our intake team and you can request the screen. And if your child is right now with Verbal Beginnings, I would contact your clinical supervisor to express their interest and to see what their thoughts are and if they find it clinically appropriate. And we have a kind of a separate process for children that are already with Verbal Beginnings.
And I just added in Verbal Beginnings phone number back into the chat box. I sent it a few other times throughout, but that's the direct line to VB. So they'll connect you right to an intake person who will be able to get you started within that initial process, which would include that screening. Cool. Any other questions from our participants today? This has been a really awesome presentation. Thank you, Justine, so much for going through all this great content and talking about resources. And thank you to everybody for attending this evening and having so many great questions and so much great feedback for us throughout this program. And getting to talk about social beginnings is always wonderful as well.
It's my favorite topic to talk about. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, stay tuned for next month. We'll be sending out emails about our next month's topic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody still on the call has any last minute questions, feel free to chat them in or come off of mute.